Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're making meatballs with brown gravy served over noodles. So everything you see on my counter is what we're going to use to make the meatball part of this. You're going to need to preheat your oven to 400 degrees because these will bake for 25 minutes once we get them completely assembled and ready to go in the oven. So you're going to start out with a large bowl with 1 pound of ground beef, and we're going to break up into this 4 slices of bread. Now this can be bread that you just pull out the loaf, some that's getting older, a little crusty, a little hard, or you don't even have to use sliced bread. You could use anything from French to Italian to whatever you want to, as long as you break it up into smaller pieces. And there's a reason for this. This is something that I learned from my grandmother. She said that if you break some bread up into your ground beef, it makes it stretch further when you mix it together. And with the price of everything at the grocery store today, this really isn't a bad idea to try to stretch whatever you can. So we are going to break up our bread as small as we can get it into this before we move on to the next step. So the next thing we're going to do is add seasonings. So what we're adding in is a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of pepper, a half a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And once that's in, we're adding in 1/4 of a cup of Italian breadcrumbs. And we're using basically the Italian kind because it has seasoning in it that tastes really great. And then we're going to add to this a half a cup of onion pepper blend, which basically this has got green pepper, red pepper, and some onion in it. And to that we're adding 1 large egg. And yes, we're putting our hand in here because this is the only way you can get this mix completely through. So we're going to mix this as we go along, trying to pull all the breadcrumbs, the peppers, the onions, the seasoning, everything in until you get it into a really large ball, because this will begin to stick together as you go. You just need to make sure everything is mixed through and is staying into the big ball by the time you get it done, because this really is necessary to make sure everything is mixed through. And I've tried doing this with spoons and everything else. You just can't get the same thing as putting your hand in it. So as long as you wash your hand before you do it, you're fine. Now once this is gotten together and everything is really mixed through, we're going to need a pan we're going to bake in. I like to line mine with aluminum foil and then use some non-stick cooking spray on it, just for the fact that 1, it's easy to clean up, but 2, when you're cooking meatballs, they do actually put out a bit of oil on the pan, and it's just easier to peel off the aluminum foil and not have to really deal with all that oil, because it'll go with the aluminum foil when you're putting it in the garbage. So as you can see, mine is starting to stick together and we're ready to make meatballs. My pan is ready, it's been sprayed. If you haven't done it already, we're baking at 400 degrees for 25 minutes, and we're going to form meatballs out of this. Now, you can make these any size you want. I'm doing kind of medium size ones. You can do large, you can do small. You might want to watch the larger you get on the baking time just to make sure that they're cooked thoroughly. But if you do around like medium size of these, you can get around 12 meatballs out of this pan here. So really, it's not bad, and that's plenty for what we're cooking here. So just go ahead, grab a bit of the meat, pull it up in your hand, roll it into a ball, sit it down. It's that simple. And we're going to repeat this until we get them all done, and then they're going to go in the oven. And as I said, at 25 minutes, the size that I'm doing here should be cooked through and they're good. You can look at them to tell if they're done or not. For the most part, I cheat sometimes. I slice one in half, and whether it's, done or not, it's either going to go back in the oven, or if it is done, I might actually eat it. But, just go ahead and roll these out. And I try to stay uniform on the size because, you want them all to be kind of similar in size. Because when you cook these, they will change a little bit. Because, when you cook meat, sometimes it cooks down depending on the grade of beef you get or what you're using. The best thing about these is the flavor that you're getting from the peppers, the onion, and everything in the seasoning in here that makes this such a good thing to eat because it is full of flavor. So once these are all completely done, we're going to pop them into the oven. And while they're in the oven doing their thing baking, we're going to go ahead and make the brown gravy. Now, as far as the brown gravy is concerned, we're going to cheat a little bit on that. But as you can see, these are my meatballs when they were cooked and set to the side. The brown gravy, I'm using a packet to make it because it's just quicker and easier to do. So I took my pan, and to this, I'm adding 1.5 cups of beef broth, which I'm going to bring this up to temperature, which I'm going to put it on like a medium high and let it start heating up. Now to the side, I am mixing the packet that came with the gravy into a cup, which basically it says to mix the gravy powder into 1/4 cup of water. So that way after 2 minutes, you're ready to use it. And at this point, everything is heated up on my stove and I'm pouring in the gravy mix. So I guess basically, you know, whatever packet you get, you're going to follow their directions. This is just what mine said to do. And once this is in, we're going to bring this up to a good boil and we're going to cook this until it thickens up, which means this is going to take quite a few minutes. Mind you, depending on your packet, it'll tell you whatever it wants you to do to make yours and make it thicker. And then once this is completely done, we're going to bring our meatballs over and put them into it so they can get coated with the taste of the gravy, and they're going to sit there as it thickens up a little bit before we serve it. So as you can see, mine is thickening up. And I'm going to keep whisking the whole thing until it gets to a point where I feel it's thick enough. Because remember, as things cool, they do get thicker. So mine is at the point where I think I'm ready to go ahead and put in the meatballs. So at this point, you can kill the heat. You don't need it anymore. And the meatballs were already warm to begin with. So once they go into the gravy, they're just basically in there to get some of the flavor on them. And once we get them all in, then we're going to mix it up with the whisk or whatever you're using. And just put in as many as you can in your gravy. Just remember, when you take some of these out, you can always put more in later, because there is plenty of gravy in one of these mixes. Now once we get this done, we're going to set it to the side, and then we're just going to make our egg noodles. Now if you buy egg noodles, you know that on it has directions on how to cook these. You just put them in hot water with maybe a little bit of salt or a little oil, and you let it cook for the amount of time it says on the packet. And then when they're done, we're going to pull them out and put them on a plate. So as you can see, I have mine here, and I am putting my meatballs on top with gravy. And I always like put the meatballs on and then spoon some more gravy on. So I'm going to say I'm going to put like maybe 4 meatballs on there. This is if you're hungry. And then basically just spoon some gravy on top of it. Just make it nice. And this is basically a great meal because you got a lot going on here just on one plate. And this just, it has such an amazing taste. And this is what it looks like when it's completely done. And this is dinner. I'm telling you, it's a great meal. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out my cookbooks, which are available in bookstores worldwide. The first is about everyday cooking. The second is all about baking. Have a great day.